What's good, everybody? It is your man Bevon here with We Create Music TV, and tonight on our interview segment, we have music legend, guitarist, artist, music producer. I want y'all to give a warm welcome to my guy, Teddy Richards.
Good evening, brother Devon. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's glad to have you here. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about, and I'm looking forward to because I want to hear what you got. I had a chance to listen to a lot of different things, and my ears are blessed today. So it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Kind of you. Thank you, man. Thank you.
So, Mr. Teddy, if you wouldn't mind, as I ask every guest that comes onto the show, how did you get started in this whole music world?
I got started, I was involved in it before I even knew I was involved in it. And what I mean by
Mm.
that was I was such a lover of music. I had already laid the path and the groundwork and didn't realize I was laying the path and the groundwork. I loved music so much. I was already putting myself in situations where I could do more than the average listener, you know. I was surrounding myself not only with talented people, but I was listening to good music, all genre. I was open to all different styles, and I was it was just something that I embraced it at an early age. I'm self-taught as a musician, and I just continued to learn, and I continued to grow, and I wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good thing. It's you meet a well. Let me go back. I don't meet a lot of people that's self-taught. I know a lot of people go to like music school or they kind of grew up and they had like a musical background. Which for myself, I didn't have any of that, and so I didn't have parents who sang or anything. I just love music, and I love that. I love the fact that you really took hold of your own music career and you forged your own way to learn how to do these things yourself, which I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I started off as a singer, right? I was trying to be a singer when I was a youngin, but yeah, I think that's kind of what really sets people apart. That gives you that kind of resiliency to be successful in this career is if you have that tenacity to do those types of things.
I wouldn't know how to do it any other way, honestly. I've been doing it since my first paper route,
So you got to.
my high school job that took me through college,
Hmm.
and after graduating, I only know how to do it one way, and that means just keep moving forward and keep pushing ahead with it. And again, don't take no for an answer. It's
Mm.
just a matter of circumventing around the no and getting to the thing that you're trying to get done. And that's
Mm.
all there is. That's because there's always what's the old saying? Where there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way. That's right.
And you
That
just
that's
have to
right.
where is your way, you know?
Mm.
And you might trial and error through it, but while you're trial and erroring through whatever it is, you're learning, you're figuring out how not to do it, and you still have so many options ahead for the way to do it that might be the right way. So
Mm. That's right.
that's how
That's
you have to
right.
live it. That's how you have to live.
That's right. So talk about your time at I believe it was the University of Michigan.
Michigan State, actually.
Yep, Michigan
Michigan.
State. Michigan. Let me make sure I get that right. Michigan
Yeah.
State. And so kind of talk about your beginnings there and your journey in music and how that had an impact on your music career.
Well, I went to school. My undergrad was telecommunications. I went back and did my master's clinical psychology.
Mm.
So there's no music school that I was involved in. And I promised my father that I wouldn't join a band. And he was vehement about, all right, son, I'm not paying for you to go over here and mess around with these girls and play them guitars. You're over there to learn and you got to put your head in the books. All right, Dad, I get it. And I still was
Right.
enamored with music, and I'd been playing in bands in high school.
Mm.
Um, and I love music. So I said, okay, I'm going to join this band. I had a couple of people that had asked me to participate in the project. I said, well, I just we got to keep it on the down low. I can't tell my dad, he'll come up here, he'll
Right.
drive 80 miles away, and there's going to be real trouble here in East Lansing. So we couldn't say anything
That's
about me
right.
being the band. But what
Mm,
a wonderful journey that was. It taught me how to think in terms of the business of music.
mm-hmm,
Um, and the four of us, we all had an equal say in what took place in the Preps was the name of the group.
mm-hmm,
And being in that group, we had a budget. We knew exactly we'd meet once a week, and we'd figure out, okay, we have the money from the prom that we did last night. What do we do with that money? We put it in a bank account. We're opening a bank account. We're going to take half of it to pay the band. The other half, we're going to set it aside so that we can get to the studio one day, and we make take 15 to 20 bucks for whatever breaks. We started thinking in those terms.
mm,
Really set me up for being a professional as
right.
time went by. And by professional, I'm not just talking about being a good player, but someone who thinks and operates in a business state of mind,
Mm,
in terms of
mm-hmm,
administration, who understands that it's not just always about standing there with the guitar,
right.
because bills have to be paid and you have responsibilities that you have to understand what you're doing while you're
That's
playing
right.
that guitar. So, and that was a wonderful that time frame for me was just outstanding, and we had a lot of humor. We worked hard, and for our day, we were very popular in East Lansing. We played a lot of proms. We played a lot of sorority and a lot of fraternity events. And we were able to do what we set out to do. And it also helped me as a musician. It helped me learn how to have self discipline, to learn to play, how to learn to listen. What's the drummer doing at this part? How do the background parts go? And if I'm playing this, can I sing this note over the top of it? And can I coordinate to do these things without looking ridiculous? So it was a wonderful proving ground.
Mm,
We did everything that a college band should do, and when the time came for us to part ways, we never parted ways as friends. But when
that's
we did
good.
part ways, it was a matter of then me graduating to, I wanted to play in bars and I wanted to play more of my original material, and I wanted to
Mm,
write, and I wanted to not just be in a band that was doing something for college kids, but I
right.
wanted to do the next level.
The next
Uh,
level.
so So we started. I formed another band at that point called Drums and Wires, which is named after an XTC album. And we were playing a lot of Joe Jackson, The Clash,
Mm,
um, new wave stuff. At that
right,
point in
right.
time, it's a big part of what I was listening to then. And we started landing some openers. Started doing openers for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Uh, Faith No More. We opened for them. Um, Modern English came through town. We worked with them.
Mm,
Tony Carey, and Planet P. They came through town. We worked with them. Cheap Trick. We worked with Cheap Trick. So again, I was going where I wanted the music to take me,
right.
which at that time was, I was living in East Lansing, mind you. After I graduated, I stayed in East Lansing for about a decade. I stayed there
Oh,
until
okay.
it was time to really leave. And when it was time to leave, that meant again, where's the next level? Where's my next college
Mm,
of music or college of life supposed to take me? And from there, I moved back to the Detroit area after a decade and continued. But now without a band, I started doing solo acoustic dates, and I
mm-hmm,
started working with Borders Books and Music. At the
mm-hmm.
time,
Look,
they
okay.
were
I do want to talk about that a little bit later.
okay.
The
Uh,
whole borders, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Borders was excellent for me. That was an ideal
Mm,
situation. It took me from Michigan all the way down south, through Atlanta, down to Florida, and back again.
Wow.
and I was doing it with golf clubs and an RV.
Wow.
What else? I was living the life. I was
Yeah, I
living the
mean,
life,
I
living
mean,
a
so
dream.
so look, so let's do this. How did the Borders thing come about? What led to the Borders tour? I call it the Borders tour. What led to that?
Borders came about because my bass player, Joe Hayden, played in another group called Soul Click, and they had played at Borders. I didn't realize that Borders had music. I'd never been in a Borders location at that time. And when I found out that they were bringing in music, I said, Joe, they're bringing. He says, oh, yeah, we played last night. It was fantastic. I said, who booked you? He told me the manager's name. I called her instantly. I said, hi. My good friend and work colleague Joe Hayden tells me that he just performed at the Borders location in Rochester, Michigan. So I would like to play there as well. So can we get our calendars out and let's take a look and let's get something booked right now?
Mm.
And I was moving and talking so fast. She says, "All right, okay, well, sure. How about 2 weeks from now?" And I said, "Great, we'll see you then." And I
Mm.
sent her a little press kit. I had a little press kit that I'd put together and a cassette with a couple of songs on it, little demo songs, and went in and did the date, and it went well. We didn't have any draw, but the people that happened to be in the store enjoyed it. And I had enough sense to burn a few CDs. I had about 4 or 5 CDs with me,
Mm. Mm.
little indie product that I'd put together, and I sold them. And I said, "Hey, this is." I said, "I'm on to something here." And not only that, but when we finished that date, when I finished the date, I said to the manager, I said, "Where's the next closest border
Mm.
location to here?" She said, "Oh, well, that would be the one that's over here by the Oakland Mall." I said, "Who manages that?" She says, "Oh, well, that would be my friend Debbie." I said, "Great, give me her number." I got right on the phone with Debbie and I said, "Listen, I just finished working and I'm here. I'm still here in the Borders location, and it went fantastic. Listen, I was told to talk to you, and we need to book the date. Can we get our calendars out and do it right now?" I ended up doing this for the entire state of Michigan, all of
Mm.
Ohio, all of Illinois, all of Indiana. And then I said, all right, let's take it down south. So I brought the whole thing down south and then worked my way back to Michigan again. So
Mm.
I was very proud of that. I was very
Yes,
proud of that.
I think for anybody who's watching and for those who are going to watch afterwards, that's a very important lesson for them.
Oh, yeah.
That there are opportunities that exist outside of what you think may currently exist. You just have to find those opportunities, create those opportunities if you need to create it. But I love the
Yep.
fact how you were on your sales game, and at the
Oh,
very
yeah.
beginning, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love what you said. I love what you said. Hey, you called him up. You were like, hey, hi, yes. My good colleague and I, he just performed there, and hey, he said I should
Yep.
talk directly to you, right? And so
Hmm.
so and so you so so I used to teach sales long time
Okay.
ago at various different organizations across the country, and
Okay.
so that's literally really how you do it
Yeah. Yeah.
because you made her feel valued and important. He said I should talk to you, that you're the
Hmm.
one that makes the decisions, that you're the one that's in charge. He said I
Hmm.
need to come to you because you can make this happen. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, you're right, it's me. Uh, yes, let's do it right now. I love you. Say, let's get the calendar out right now and let's book it. you
Let's
know
do it. It
let's
couldn't be
do it.
anything but a success. It couldn't be anything
Hmm.
other than success. And I was so thankful. By the time I got to the 10th show or so, I said, you know what? Let me go back and burn 30 or 40 CDs, pack those, put
That's
them in,
right.
and then by the time I got to that next date, I said, listen, we've done about 20 Borders dates so far. I said, it's a part of my contract now. It's stipulated in the contract that you have to buy 10. You must buy 10 of these CDs that you own yourself now.
Mm.
And I said, and I also need what they had a BINC number, which is kind of like a SKU, a SKU number.
Okay. Hmm.
And so I said, and I'm going to need a BINC number. So please If you can call corporate and get my bank number together, I'm happy to pay for it. I was in business, buddy. I was
Hey,
in business.
that is, and I love that because that is the mentality that people need to have when they are working in this industry. This industry,
Yes.
in one of the videos that I did a while ago, I said, no record company is going to come swoop in and save you and rescue you like a knight in shining armor, like a prince on a white horse, and kind of give you a
Nope.
record deal that's going to make you the biggest star in the world. Like you have to really work at it, and you have to forge your way into this music industry if you want it to be what you want it to be
Yeah.
and turn out the way you
And
want it to turn out.
carve it out and write your own ticket, whatever it is that you want. And I was very good because I was young enough and impressionable. I watched all those around me that were more professional and how they were running their bands and how they were running
Mm,
their band business. I learned a lot also. There was a group from Michigan called the Verve Pipe. They ended up having a number one tune at one given point, rock tune called The Freshman. But what was fantastic about the Verve Pipe and Brian Vander Ark, the leader of the group, they had become such a popular band in East Lansing that, and it
mm.
was a phenomenon. It was like the Beatles or something. It felt like that for our little town. I mean, out of nowhere, this band just popped up, and they were selling out the largest club. 3 or 4 nights in a row with lines around the corner. And when it became time for them to shop the record deal, they didn't have to shop so much because they were selling
That's
enough
right.
product that it became very obvious that the record label, they wanted to have a piece of this.
Hmm.
You've got a college band that's selling out a room that had probably a maximum of 200 people, 300 people, and you've got a line out around the corner, and they're playing the next 4 or 5 nights like this, and each night they're selling so much product. When it was time for the
That's right.
record deal, they said to RCA, "You need us more than we need you."
Hmm.
Because we're already making the money nightly as
Hmm.
far as their business went. But I watched and I thought that was very clever of them to be able to kind of write their own ticket with RCA.
Right.
Very, yep, yep.
It's amazing that those same opportunities exist today.
Oh yeah,
Those
they
same
sure
type of
do.
opportunities exist today for people to take advantage of those same type of opportunities and to create their own leverage with the record companies.
Not only that, but
Hmm.
you're a living proof of that. This program that you've put together here, you have carved this out and you've made this yours.
I have.
So
Yes,
you are
sir.
doing the same thing. You said, "Look, I'm going to make something happen here, and here it is."
That's right.
You're living proof of it.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. I guess from early on, you had a do-it-yourself kind of attitude, a do-it-yourself
Yep.
mentality. So, what kind of really sparked that development in yourself to, uh, for that type of mindset?
I wanted to be involved in music, and I it didn't matter how long it took to practice and how long it took to learn and how embarrassing it might have been when I didn't know how to tune a guitar or when I didn't know how to play the song properly. It was for me, hey, this is a part of getting me where I want to go with this. So you just keep at it. You never stop learning, and you never feel embarrassed enough to the point where you go, "Oh well, I tried and it just didn't work out." For me, it was always like, "Hey, there's always tomorrow. We'll start again tomorrow."
There's always, I think that's so important because this industry will make you want to give up
Oh yeah,
because
there's been many
it oh
times.
yeah. Oh yeah, it will make you want to give up because as soon as you hear that first no, that second no, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not, really cut out for it. And that's why I mentioned resiliency in that case because there's adversity. There's going to be many times that the record labels say no, or A&R say no, or managers say no, or venues say no, and you got to be
Oh yeah.
resilient in the face of that. Hmm. Yes, I mean, so what? So no, go ahead.
I guess to also add to supplement, you'd asked the question. I had that in me since I was young. When I wanted to go to work, and I lived with my grandmother at this point in time. My parents were on the road and they were building
Hmm.
their careers, and I stayed home with my grandmother. And when I was 7, I decided it was time for me to go to work because I wanted to work, right? I wanted to work, and it didn't matter. I was, hey, I got to get a job. I must have a
Get
job.
a paper route.
And my grandmother, she said, hey, if you can get a job, then I guess it is time. And she didn't. I don't think that she really thought that I could get one, but she didn't know the tenacity and how
Right.
hard headed I was. So I said, all right, I want a paper job. I want a paper boy job. I'm gonna sell the Detroit Free Press, which comes out.
That's
They
right.
deliver those things at 4 a.m. in the morning. Now, I hadn't given much thought to a lot of things like what time they're going to deliver the paper and can I get them done and get to class on time. But I just wanted the job, so my tenacity. I called the Detroit Free Press and I said, "Yes, good afternoon. I would like to be a paper boy." And the woman said, "Well, okay, well, yes, and what is your name?" I said, "Well, my name is Theodore." And she said, "And how old are you, Theodore?" I said, "Well, I'm 7." She said, "Well, I think you're probably a little young. I don't think that we're." I said, "Okay, no problem. Thank you for taking the call." And I hung up the phone. I called right back. I called right the same number. I called the same number. I said, "Yes, good afternoon. I would like a job as a paper boy, please." She said, and who is this?" I said, "This is Ted." And she said, "How old are you, Ted?" I said, "I'm 8." And I pushed the number up 1. She said, "Well, you still, I don't think we can hire anybody, that's that young." But I said, "No, no worries. Thank you for taking my call."
Hmm.
I called right back again. I said, "Yes, good afternoon. I would like a job as paper boy." And she said, "Who is it?" I said, "This is Teddy." She said, "How old are you?" I
Nice.
said, "How old do I have to be to get this job?"
Right. And
She said,
however,
"Okay." She said,
right.
"Okay, I can see this is going to go on all day. You have the job. You got it. We'll see you in the
Yeah.
morning with the papers." But I
See?
was I was willing I was willing to sit there all day and call back and whatever it took. We're going to be here till we
Mm,
get this together. We will be here till we get this together.
that's right.
Yep.
I love that. It's whatever it takes to, because I was a paper boy too, so I know
Yeah.
how, the getting up early in the morning and the, wrapping the newspapers up and, checking out your
Yeah.
route, and oh, trust me, I know, and making sure I got my stuff ready on my bike
And on Saturdays, time to collect.
on
We had to go
Saturday.
collect on Saturdays.
Yeah, right. And then you got to
Oh,
go.
and
Then you
those
got
were
to go
the
collect.
days. Yep.
And then you got to go.
But I,
I'm
you
here
know,
to
I
collect the money for the paper.
right, right. And
That's
some
right.
people are like, "Hey, I'll catch you next week." I said, "No, no, you
I'm
got
like,
to catch
no.
me today."
Look, at that moment, you become the what are the guys known for the loan sharks that go
The
to collect
enforcer.
payments? The enforcer. You become the enforcer. No, I'm sorry, but that's not going to work. I must have the payment now for the paper. Nope. Yeah, you become a little 8-year-old enforcer trying to collect your. Yes, trust me, I know how that works. So, I mean, but even in that, the lesson behind it is the fact that you have to do what it takes, and not even in just music, in life. If you
Oh
really
yeah.
want it, you got to go after it. Nothing just gonna come to you and fall in your lap, and it's like, oh, well, here it is, I made it. No, you got to go after what you really want. Yeah,
Yep.
that's hands down.
Yep. And I'm
So
still. We're both living that today. We're living that dream.
we're living that dream today. That's right. That's right. So Teddy, for you, so what would you describe as the most important period in your life?
Wow. Most important period in my life. I think probably the most important period in my life would have been father and son period. When I was probably 12, between 12 and 20. And the time that I spent with my father I would say that that's probably the most important period in my life. And the reason being, that was a time that I was still young enough and impressionable enough to listen and understand the tutelage that he was offering. And it allowed us also, by the time we got around the time I was 20, he became less of a father and more of a friend. But all the while, that entire time, he was always teaching and grooming me for adulthood. So I would say that that was probably the most important time. The greatest rules of life that I learned came during that time frame. Um, and some of the things that I'm still reaping the benefit of as an adult,
Mm,
because I was able to be receptive, because I didn't get too full of myself as a youngster, but I still understood, you know, be quiet and listen to your father. He has something to offer.
right.
And, once I came around to that way of thinking, the whole world opened up.
Mm,
As a youngster, though, prior to that, a lot of kids, we feel like we know it. We feel like you know it
right.
all, and your
Yep.
parents are square, and they don't know it. What are you talking about? You don't know nothing.
Yep.
Hold
Hmm.
on. And there's very little under the sun that my father didn't know, or that your father didn't know, and it's just a matter of saying, all right, let me just humble myself to listen to this guy over here. He's going to tell me something good. And he would always say, son, I wouldn't tell you if it wasn't important. I wouldn't even bother telling you. And you can
That's
trust
right.
whatever I'm telling you. It's for your betterment. And so
Mm,
I learned, from the time from about 12, 15 years old until 20, very important time frame for me. And I learned very much how to conduct myself as an adult. I learned how to respect the world, the business, the music, the things that that are still important to me and will always be important to me. I learned these things, because of that time that I spent with my father. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful that the Lord allowed us to get to that point, because some fathers and sons don't get there.
right.
Some
You know,
fathers and
and
sons.
yeah, and that's the thing. And I've said this many times on this segment, anyways. The fact that my father and I never had that, and so,
Okay.
we never had that ability for him to pour into my life and give me that advice. Whatever the reasons that live behind it, and I know a lot of young men find themselves in that type of situation. But when that was my situation, I was like, okay, that's not going to happen to my kids. They're not going to grow up without a dad in their life that can pour into them. Now,
All right.
I will say it's kind of what you said, right? We're being transparent. It's kind of what you said is
Yep.
that receptivity. Yeah,
Yep.
not a lot of youngsters in 2020 2022 are receptive are receptive to
Shame
like
too, because the world would be a
like
better place if they would listen, if they
like
would
dad, you don't know
listen.
what you're talking about. Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. And that's the fact that we do. Um, like we have we say this to our kids all the time. My wife and I have so much combined experience. It'll
Hmm.
it'll it'll blow their socks away. We always tell them we have grown adults
Right.
that own Fortune, you know, 150 companies who will listen to the advice that we give them. But y'all won't listen to the
Okay.
advice we give y'all. Y'all what? Okay. Like
Something.
we'll just
There's a
go make them
disconnect.
successful. We'll make them successful. I
Right.
mean, but trust me, but I get it. I get it. Like I'm with my parents all the time, so like, oh my gosh, you're constantly telling me stuff about life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, give me a break, right?
Mm-hmm.
And plus, my kids were homeschooled, so not
Oh, okay.
only
Wow.
was
How
my wife
admirable.
there, yeah, not only with it's all the admiration goes to my wife because she was more the homeschool facilitator, and my job had me on the
Okay.
road for much of their youth. So I recently came home in 2018 with no more travel. Like that was it, no more travel. But by the time 2018 rolled around, they were 16 and like 19, and it was like, hey, y'all almost
Grown
grown.
men. Yeah.
By the time I stopped officially traveling, uh, and so all the admiration goes to her for the homeschooling, but I get it because Okay, I listened to you in homeschool. Then I got to listen to you outside of homeschool. Then I got to be with you again in homeschool. And it's like, oh man, but those type of environments are the best type of environments to really cultivate the youth to be successful.
I
Because
get it.
she's pouring into them and she cares about their knowledge and their growth and their development, so that they can be better than what we've ever been. And so, you know,
Well, God
if
bless
they're
you guys for
listening,
doing that, man. That's
if they're
awesome.
listening, but yeah, yeah, but it goes back to that, right? It goes back to that receptivity, and people have to be receptive. So let me go back and ask you this: do you think that it was the time that you grew up in that warranted your ability to humble yourself and listen to your father in that capacity?
No, I think that no matter what time, it would have been the same thing. If I were a young man today, I think that I would have still responded the same. It was just the way that I had been molded. I think
Mm,
that, if it had been 1950s, it would have been the same. If it was 1990s, it would have been the same. I was
mm-hmm,
molded that way, and my dad was very uh, clever and to never be overbearing.
mm,
Because if you'd been too overbearing, I'd have said, "Oh, I don't care what you're saying. I'm gonna do what I'm
mm,
gonna do." And he would have lost me. And I
okay,
was hard headed, so I would have really gone off the deep end. So he
right,
had to really find a way to balance being, the father and the person that was, the mentor, and it would have been the same, because
okay.
he had a good ability, for balancing. He had a great balancing act.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. People need that in their lives. One, to not be overbearing, but two, to have that good balancing act, so that
yeah.
the younger generation are more receptive to what we, as the older generation, I guess, quote unquote, older generation. Right? I'm not that old. I was born in
The
70.
elder.
I was born in
Someone called,
74, so I'm not.
somebody called me elder. I said, "A what?" Like, but apparently that's the word now. Oh,
Right.
elder.
Or they call you Unc. Or they call you Unc.
Unk.
Yeah,
Wow.
once they call you uncle, then he's like, oh, I really am old. Oh wow. Like wow, okay. So yeah. So
Oh, boy.
so so let's start talking about let's start talking about your music career,
All right.
because it is an expansive music career, and
I've been blessed.
you've been very successful in the past 30 years of your music career. So for you, uh, why was it important for you to forge your own path in this music industry?
Well, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I had been taught that you must, if you're going to be a man, you have to handle yourself, and this is your name, and you must be responsible, as your own person. You can't ride your mother's coattails. You can't ride your father's coattails. You're going to have to handle yourself and handle your business and be your own person. I was taught that from a very early age. So it was very crucial for me to live up to that. One of my dad's favorite sayings was, "If you're looking for a helping hand, your best place to start is by looking at the end of your wrist." So I was raised with that kind of mentality. And I understand exactly what he's saying. If you're going to be a grown, responsible adult, it's difficult to do that if you're hiding under someone's shadow, or if you're
Mm,
riding someone's coattail, or if you're not cleaning up your mess behind you.
right.
In order to stand firmly as a man, you've got to, here's who I am and this is what I do.
Mm,
And you have to carry yourself with that attitude into your adulthood through your entire life. Otherwise, the world's going to run all over you, and you'll be disrespected without. Sometimes you don't even know when people are disrespecting you,
mm,
unless you are holding yourself correctly. And
that's
then it's
right.
very clear to say, "Hey, I get it. This is me right here, and I know if the wind's blowing in the wrong direction."
Mm,
It's very easy
yeah.
to understand that when you've been when you've been briefed and correctly organized.
That's right. And I think a lot of people sometimes kind of go back to that same analogy I use, where they think somebody's going to come in and swoop them up, and they're
Mm.
not. They're not really doing it on their own laurels themselves, right? They're just sitting on their laurels, right? I remember hearing my grandmother say, "You're just sitting on your laurels." Like, okay, and so, I mean, I think it's critically important, especially for you. You've had a successful career, and I'll get into to some of the people that you've been working with, because I'm interested in hearing your perspectives on your experience
Okay,
working with them. Uh,
sure.
you have to forge your own path to be respected in this industry, so that when people look at you, they go, "That's the guy," and they don't go, "Oh, that's the Jim, the manager, is the one who made that person." And it's like, no, Jim, the manager, didn't make me. Um, and I, and for anybody that's out there, you want your name, yourself, to carry its weight. When you walk into the room, you want, "Oh, that's Brian. Oh, that's Teddy." Not,
And be
"Oh,
respected for the
and
right reason. To be
and be
respected
respected for the
for the
right
right.
reasons.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. Yep.
For the right
Yep.
reasons. So, okay, so I'm interested in learning, how did you get the name the Duke of Song? Like, how did
The
like
Duke of
now wait. Now,
Yes.
I don't know if anybody have ever heard of the Duke of Earl, right? You remember?
Oh yeah. Duke, Duke, Duke,
Duke.
Duke of
Yeah, that was.
Earl.
But
But wait a
how did
minute.
you get?
Let
Yeah,
me ask you about that.
sure.
Either you're a Duke or an Earl. How are you the Duke of Earl?
Of Earl,
That's like
because
saying
those are two.
you're the president of governor.
Right,
The
because
Duke
those are
of
two
Earl.
royal titles.
Right. How
That's
can you
right.
be the Duke of Earl? I'm the governor of president of mayor. Yeah.
Hmm. No, that's you. No, you're right. I mean, those are royalty titles, and I think, if I remember correctly, is a duke above an earl, or earl is
Uh,
one of the. I think a duke is
I'm
above an
not.
earl.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one as those. I'm not sure which one's the higher.
Hmm. Well, I can tell you what
High,
they're not.
right.
they
And
they ain't the
and
king or the queen.
but I would have loved to speak to have spoken with Gene Chandler. That was his song,
Hmm.
Duke of Earl. Duke,
Right.
you say Gene. How can you be the Duke of Earl? You got to be either the Earl or you're the
Or the
Duke. Which
duke.
one are you? Which one are you, Gene?
That's right.
Come
You got
on,
to be
let's
one or
work
the
this out.
other. That's right.
But anyhow, the Duke of Song is a title that was passed along to me because of my love for music and because I'm an audiophile for starters, and I can talk music from any genre from ABBA to Zappa. And I'm a great lover of music. I pride myself that I know probably more lyrics and maintain this data for some reason all these years into my career. And I also have an extensive, and when I say extensive, I'm talking, like 8,000 albums, and I've got probably 3 or 4,000 cassettes, and probably 4 or 500 reel to reels. And I love music. I've always loved music. And then for me, oh, here, somebody's saying Duke is higher.
Yes.
Chris Vaughn, Duke
Yes.
is higher. All right.
That is where all the admiration lies, right there, and that
There you go.
and that woman who just chimed in. And
All
so,
right. Thank you for that info, Chris. But yes, the title comes from me immersing myself and embracing music on every level, at every turn, and anything that you can think of that has something to do with music. I've been a part of it, and I'm deeply involved in it. And it's a love affair that will never, ever fade.
mm,
I love music more than most people would realize that a person could actually, have that much concern for song and for lyric and for writing
mm,
and for production and for the history of music. And uh, for me, it's like another form of education. My wife is a big fan of Jamaican music and reggae and Mentos music. So I'm learning all that now. I'm learning about all that good stuff and everything from the island and all the Mentos groups. And of course, everybody knows Bob Marley.
Yep.
But it's much bigger. He was the one that allowed the world to pay attention to it. But all
Right.
the other people that are also a part of that. So I'm enjoying that now. I'm learning more about jazz music, and so there's
Mm.
always something more. At every turn, there's a new horizon with music, and so for me, I'm the Duke. I'm the
You're the
Duke.
Duke.
And I've had an opportunity. I've been blessed, and I've been able to play on stage and to accompany some of the greats of the world. Um, which is another wonderful blessing that I'm thankful that I've
Hmm.
been able to achieve. To have stood on a stage and performed with Natalie Cole and with James Brown and with Al Green, and to play guitar with uh, you know Simply Red, and to work with Andrew Ferris of NXS, and to write with Natalie Merchant's guitar player Gabriel Gordon. He and I have tracks on the new record, and
Mm.
uh, to share stage with these people and to work intimately with them and to learn again more about the craft, learning more about the craft, and to be a part of that circle, and to work with Red Hot Chili Peppers, and to work with Faith
Right.
No More, and to you know in middle school to play at our potluck dinner and do Chicago songs, and
Mm.
to to work with Carole King, and so I've been very, very blessed over the years. Who else? Levy. What's her name? Marcy Levy. Who's from Oak Park, where I grew up
Mm-hmm.
in Michigan. To have been able to rub shoulders with her. Um, Don was, who's also from our town there. And most folks also don't know it, to be able to rub shoulders with the late um, Doug Feiger from the Neck. This
Mm-hmm.
is all Oak Park, Michigan people. These are,
Mm.
we were all right around the corner from one another. Um, so, to be the Duke is that's who I am.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
who
that's
I
that's
am.
that's good. That's good.
It
Because
allows me to be the ambassador as well. The
right.
ambassador.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah, and and she's right. Duke is higher, so you're pretty much the ambassador of music. It was interesting to hear about how many records you actually have and how many cassette tapes, and not
Oh
even
yeah.
just that, but reel to reel
Oh
that you
yeah.
have. Most
I'm
people today
working.
don't even know what a reel to reel is.
I'm working. I don't know if you can see this in the shot here. I'll do the best that I can to pull it, turn it around.
No, we can't see
Without,
it.
let's see, without me ruining here. This
Oh
is an
yeah.
old Sony radio, old TC 255. I'm in the
Mm.
middle of most of the time during the day now. My father owned a large music catalog, and all of these songs that were, I've got all the lead sheets, and I've got all these masters, and so I'm
Wow.
digitizing all day long. Right here,
Oh
this
yeah.
is Prophet Jones, which was kind of an interesting album. But he owned a lot of music that he wrote for the Dynamics and Mustang Sally, and a lot of stuff with. Oh goodness, I did a lot of work with. Uh, well, let's see. We knew him as Bonnie, but his stage, honey, Mac Rice. We know him as
Oh.
Bonnie. But so, and I've been digitizing a lot of that stuff over the last few. Again,
Mm.
this was the machine that was in our house when I was a kid. So, and I'm working on this stuff, diligently, while I'm also
Right.
multitasking, recording tracks for my new record.
That's right.
Um, I'm looking to always find new projects.
Mm.
I did a wonderful thing with Folgers Coffee a few years back. I'm looking to do another national ad. We did a lot of work with Biden when he was still running for his current situation. We ended up doing some work with the Biden campaign.
Right.
It's the Duke. That's what I
It's the
do.
Duke. Yeah, yeah. Like like I said, you've had a long history. And there's a lot of just value that you have in this music industry itself, and from the people that you work with, right? And so, like even groups like Chic, and so
Oh yeah,
I have
Neil Rogers. Yeah.
yeah, I have an acquaintance. He's an acquaintance of mine, whose father was Bernard Edwards, and
Oh wow,
so I have an
boy, the two of
acquaintance,
them.
right?
He loved him. He loved Bernard so much, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I have an acquaintance who lives out in California, by the name of Bernard Edwards, who's Bernard Edwards' son,
Okay.
who does music with Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar and all, Beyonce and all those people that are out there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he and I had a conversation when I found out that his who his father was, and I was like, I have a cousin who was in the temptation. Or I mean, he's no longer here, but he was in the Temptations, which is Dennis
Wow.
Edwards. And
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
he was like,
Against
yeah,
Motown.
he said, I think we're related to Dennis Edwards somehow. I was like, well, if that is the case, then me and you related somehow. But
Wow.
we never really took it that far to kind of figure out if his father and Dennis Edwards were really related in that capacity. But I just thought it was interesting when I met him how we started that conversation off in that regard. So, but yeah,
Dennis could
yeah. So
sing. Yeah. Dennis could sing.
he could sing. No,
He could
no, no,
sing.
no, no,
I'm
no, no,
telling
no,
you.
no. Like I
Sang.
had people tell me he could sing. Right? He could sing. I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
He can
Dennis was no
sing.
joke. He
He was
was no
Dennis was no
joke.
joke, no joke, no joke. Okay, so this was one of the things that I wanted to talk about that we have in common. So
All right.
how did you end up in Germany?
Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Germany was it. I had no idea that Germany was going to take on as much general goodness as it did. Germany started out because, as the guitar player in the Aretha Franklin group, I was in Texas. We were doing a date in Texas, and in Dallas, and this German fellow is sticking around after the show. I was still on stage. The show was over. I was removing my pedal board and my gear, my cords and things. And this guy, he says, yes, hi, yes, my name is Ludwig, and I've come over here to interview the people of the Aretha group, and if you would be so kind as to speak with me, I would love to take this information back. And I'm a journalist, and I have many outlets that will have newspapers and that will tell your story. And I said to myself, well, okay, why not? I said, please give me a few minutes. I'll get the rest of my gear off the stage. I went down and talked with him. I said, listen, what are the chances? Do you have a lot of people from the states that come overseas to perform? He says, yes, yes. I said, well, do you know any record labels or people that might be interested in looking at some new talent? He says, yes, I know some people. And I said, well, let's do our interview and let's stay in contact and let's see what we can work out. We did the interview, and we exchanged business cards. And about, a month or so later, he emailed and said what a pleasure it was to meet him. And he was taking the interview, and he had it in a Baptist newspaper, and there was also a local paper in Hamburg that had picked up the story. And I responded to him, "That's great. Listen, can we get some shows together?" I said, "I'd love to come over and perform in Germany because I'd heard good things about
Mm-hmm.
Europe. I had heard wonderful things about Europe, and I was just looking for an avenue and an opportunity to go." And he says, "Let me work on it." And maybe a month or so later, he says, "Okay, I have 10 performances. We have a performance in the Baptist church, and we have 3 or 4 performances in what's called Schleswig Holstein, which is way out in the country.
Hmm.
You way out
Oh,
in the
I
country.
lived way out in the country.
So we're out here with the goats and the sheeps, but we
Hmm.
will, but nonetheless, I went over and I said, this is a good adventure. And I had worked enough in Michigan and I'd worked enough with the Borders thing, and I wanted to see what else I could accomplish. And so we were doing these little one nighters in these places. And strangely enough, then after like the fourth or fifth show, he says, an hour away, we're on our way to, I forget the city now. We're on the road. It's probably 11:30 or maybe midnight. He says, we have to make one stop. We must pick up someone else that's going with us to our next destination. I said, great. And the person that we had to stop and pick up was Lamont Dozier, the songwriter from Motown, uh,
Right.
Holland
Yes.
Dozier Holland. And so in the middle of the night, Lamont Dozier gets in the car with us, and I'm just blown away. I'm blown away. I said, "Wow." And it didn't make any sense. The whole thing didn't make
Mm.
any sense at all.
Hmm.
And we were on our way to to do a festival, and Lamont was singing a lot of the big hits that he had done for Motown, a lot of stuff that he had written for Motown. He's over there performing. So that was how Germany started. I went back probably a month or two later, for my second visit, and I had enough sense again, to think with my business mind. I took 40 or 50 CDs. I had a whole one suitcase with clothes, the other suitcase with CDs. And I said, I'm going to sell this stuff. I'm going to make this thing happen over here. And so every night after the show, I'd set up a little table, a little foldable chair, and got a Sharpie. And we'd sit there and sign do the little meet and greet and sell a couple of CDs. And it started to pick up a little momentum. And I said, Ludwig, let's get some record labels over here to see these shows. He invited them out to, of all things, the performance at a church.
Mm.
And I was very uncomfortable because my music is not church music. And I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing. You
Right.
don't want to be in the church and not do the right thing.
Hmm.
But the performance went fine. And afterwards, you've got a line. And again, like I was telling you about the verve pipe, here I am at my meet and greet table. I've got maybe 50 or 60 people waiting to buy the CD and to shake hands and say hello. And the record label is standing right there watching all this. I said, hey, how you guys doing? Hey, I'll talk with you when I get done. I got 60 people to deal with right now
Mm.
at $12 a pop.
That's right.
And that was how I ended up signing in Germany.
Mm. Wow.
Skip Rec. Yep.
Yep. With Skip Records. Yeah. 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 That's awesome. You never know where your career is going to take you and what places you're going to end up in.
Correct.
And I have a friend who lives here in the States. He's in Chicago, and he got signed to a Japanese label
Okay.
in Japan. Like, wow,
Lovely. Lovely.
wow, like a Japanese label picked him up. Like, yeah, we want to help you with your career and your album. I have
Wow.
a I have a cousin who lives over in Germany, and he's a rapper. He's a rapper over in Germany. He was one of Germany's biggest rappers, and he
Okay.
traveled all over his name is Crazy. He traveled all over the globe. I mean, all over Europe as a rapper in the 80s and 90s over in Germany.
Oh.
because because I remember being over in Germany. So I graduated high school in Germany,
Oh,
down in yep, over in Gießen, Germany. And
Gießen.
so
I worked in
yep,
Gießen.
in
I
Gießen,
know.
yep,
Yeah.
I went to Gießen American High School, right across the street from the military base.
Husum
Uh,
and Gießen. I remember both of
y-
those.
yep, and so we lived in a very small town, kind of like out in the boonies. I would walk to the bus stop, and I would pass goats, literally actual real goats, like
Wow.
where do we live? And so I lived in Kirchgoins, Germany, which was So Boosbach, which was kind of like the major city where we were, was not too far from Frankfurt. And so, um, but yeah, Germany was amazing. I would love to go back when the time is right to go back, which I don't know when that is going to be, but um, yeah, Germany. I mean, I was a youth in Germany, and I never been back as an adult, and so I know it's a
Oh,
different experience as an
yeah.
adult versus being a
My wife
youth.
and my wife and I were there 2 months ago.
Oh,
Uh, went back SWR. We did a television production that will be airing in I think 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, throughout on SWR. Um,
hmm.
did that and one other festival down in honey Baden Baden. No, but where was the festival? Aalen, down in Aalen, Germany. Was
Okay.
we Aalen Jazz Festival.
Yep.
And yeah, the TV production was in Baden Baden. And
Okay.
it was such a lovely visit. I mean, the people,
Mm.
as and they pulled out the red carpet for us, and it was so enchanting. You fall in love
Hmm.
with it. You
That's
almost
right.
want to move over there. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But my grandmother is from southern Bavaria, and so
Oh,
she's an actual southern Bavarian born German.
wow,
And
wow.
I remember hearing her speak German for the first time, and I didn't know what in the world I was listening to. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this language that you're speaking? What is this? I don't get it."
Was
And
ist
then,
das?
was ist das? Um, yes, yes. Come Sie hier bitte, meine Kinder. Right? She will. I'll say all. I'm like, Grandma, what are you talking about? I don't understand the words you're saying. And so she will, of
Uh-huh.
course, always speak to us in English. But every time she was on the phone with her friends, she would speak in German. I'm like, Grandma, I don't know what you're saying. And it would sound to me as a young kid, it sounded hilarious because I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, Grandma. It's the funniest thing I've heard. But spending time in Germany, I got to hear and actually living in a German community. I
Yeah.
got to hear and experience the culture of Germany because I didn't live on a military base or in military housing. We lived in a German town surrounded by German people with a real German bakery down the street,
Oh, that's awesome.
like a real one, right?
Nice.
Uh, yeah, so it was a great experience, and I know for you, you toured all over Germany and those different countries, with your music and things like that, and and that must have been an experience. That must have been a journey
True.
to do that.
And again, it was a wonderful situation that I didn't. You couldn't have told me that there'd be this much mileage and this much
Right.
tie that I would have with the country, just from that one meeting with the
Mm-hmm.
person now who represents me, in Europe. Um, and again, learning, always learning and figuring out a better way to present my music and finding all kinds of avenues. And we would have a lot of after the show there'd be a show after the show, we started calling it, because
That's right.
we so pumped up after the show,
After
and there
party.
were so many people that still wanted to hear music. And I started doing a show after the show. um, we went over the original guitar player who worked with the world's most dangerous band, the David Letterman band.
Mm.
The guitar player, I'll call his name in a second here. It escapes me at the moment. Oh, boy. Um, it'll come to me in a second. Anyhow, he and I did some brief touring over there, and we started the show after the show. What was his name? Oh, my goodness. Here, let me very
Right.
quickly.
Look, you know how I am. I'm always like, okay, wait a minute, who is that? Uh, I am definitely looking stuff up.
I'll call his name. I'm getting old, and it's hard to come up with these names sometimes. Bear with me as I look very quickly here.
Well, I
Oh
mean,
boy,
for yourself, you've done so much, and you work with so many different people.
it's
That
hard. It's hard to keep everybody's
it's
name,
hard to
and
keep everybody's name in.
I do
Yes.
the best I can. Every now and then, one slips by me.
Hmm.
Um, there. No, no, no. That's not him. We'll come back to that. How about we come back to
Okay.
that?
Sure. Sure. Well, while we're doing that, I do have something I want to ask you about in
Okay. All right.
excess. And so
All
with
right.
with
Yes.
with Andrew Ferris. So how did
Yes.
that relationship start, and what was the impact of that relationship on your music career?
That was probably the turning point and probably the most key situation that I've ever been involved in musically. It really it changed everything that I thought I knew about music, and it helped me grow as a producer. It helped me grow as a songwriter. Andrew is such an endearing and genuine person. It it restored a lot of my faith, and not be jaded around some of the people that can be in this industry. He was just a breath of fresh air. He's incredibly talented. He's very down to earth. You can't ask for a better friend than Andrew, and music does not have a better friend than Andrew Ferris. Also, yeah,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because NXS put out some great stuff.
boy, and I can recall, when I first went over, and at that point, I was more of a bar star. I was playing
Hmm.
hard rock and in bars, and that's what I did. That's what I was doing, and I was good, and I enjoyed it. And I thought
Hmm.
that was it. I thought that this is the pinnacle. This is all I need to be doing, and let's just keep doing it and keep carving out my personality with it. And I started working with Andrew. I went over, and it was kind of the whole deal came together so casually that I said, "This can't be what it seems like. It can't be."
Mm.
I had a friend who had been buddies with the NXS band for quite a while, and I had kind of gotten disenchanted with playing, and I had a couple of real bad fallouts, while I was working.
Mm.
I'd gotten to the point I said, you know what, I don't need to do this. I got a degree, 2 degrees. I can go work anywhere and not have barroom brawls in the middle of the night with these folks that can't count to 10. You know,
Mm.
And I'd kind of thrown in the towel. I said, "That's it. I'm tired of this. This is BS. This is not happening, and I'm not enjoying myself. And this is not why I signed on to do music."
Mm.
Um, and I'd given up. I'd come home from 2 really bad shows right after Christmas and decided it was time to sell the gear and go get a job. Which I had done many times before. I had no problem with it. And my buddy calls up and says, "Hey, NXS is playing tonight. They're at Pontiac Silverdome. And the Silverdome holds about 40 or 50,000 people. Big football games and large things take place at the Silverdome." He says, "Oh, I know the guys from NXS, and maybe they can help you with your career." I said, "Well, day late and a dollar short. I'm not interested. I'm ready to go home." He says, "Oh, you should really think about this, man. The guy Andrew, he's a really good songwriter and he'd love to meet you. I was talking with him about you, and this might be a good thing for you." I said, "No, I don't think so. I really don't. And I don't even like In Excess as a band. I don't like their music." So it was just kind of so, I mean, I knew a handful of their songs, and
Right.
I'd been in bands, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do musically. And again, my
Mm.
sphere of thinking was limited at that time. Um, I didn't go. I did not go to meet the band that day, and I
Wow.
got a call the following day from my buddy saying, "Ted, they're playing tomorrow night, man. We need to go. You really should think about this and get over there." I said, "No, I'm not feeling it. I just really don't think that that's for me. But I appreciate, you offering, and but thanks, but no thanks." Third day, he called and said, "Oh, you should have gone. It was a great concert, and they were asking about you, and they really, I think Andrew can help you. I'm sure that he can." It started, dawn on me. Maybe I'm being a little short sighted here.
Mm.
And I said, "All right." I said, "Okay." So I got my little press kit together again, the most recent little photo that I had and a little bio and again a little cassette with a couple, two, three songs that I'd cut and did little business cards I put together. And I called and I said, all right, I tell you what, man, let's go see them. Where are they tonight? He says, oh, well, now that's a 3 hour drive. I said, well, let's go. Let's go. So we got in the car and we drove up to Ferris State University, which is funny because his name is Ferris and they were playing at
Paris, right?
Ferris State. So we drove up there and I didn't expect much of it, honestly, because they were at the top of their game at that point, number one band in the world, and Live Baby Live was doing well, and MTV was
Hmm.
all over them. And I said, he didn't have time for all this trying to work with me. He's busy being a millionaire, and being a rock star. But nonetheless, I took my little press kit and I was able to give it to him after the show. And he says, all right, great. Thank you very much. The tour is done in about a week and I'll get in touch with you. I'll give you a call. And I said, okay, that's the brush off right there. I'm never gonna hear from that man again
You just drove
in
three
my life.
hours.
Ever. I'm never gonna hear from him. But I'll be darned, about 2 or 3 weeks later, he called and left a voicemail and he was true to his word. And he says, hey, and he was so humble. He says, hey, this is Andy. I play in this group in excess. You might remember we had a chance to meet. I said, wow, this guy is really humble.
Hmm.
And I said, okay. I listened to the message and he says, well, if you have any time or if you have any interest, please give me a call back and I'd love to talk with you about what we were talking about that night. I said, all right, I'll call back. But I figure I'm going to call back and this is going to be NXS.com or NXS
Right.
Central or, and they're going to try and sell me some NXS swag or something. There's not going to be anything in this for me other than I just been had. So I called the number back, on my own dime, calling England, and a woman answers. And she says, "Hello." I said, "Yes, Andrew Ferris, please." And she says, "Well, he's out buying groceries right now, but he'll be home in about 15 minutes." I said, "Wow, wow, wow!" And he called back about 20 minutes later, and the rest, as they say, became history. 12 songs
Hmm.
later. And that really was it made such an impression on me that's indelible. Working with
Mm.
Andrew was one of the highlights of my musical life. You're learning, and a lot of that material is going to be on the next record. A lot of the
Mm.
songs have not seen the light of day since the demos that we put together.
Right. Right. So talk about that. Right. So you are coming out with a new album.
Yes,
So when is I guess I always ask what's the name of the album and when does the album drop?
Solitaire, and we're shooting for March the 25th, which is both of my
Mm.
parents' birthdays, and it
Oh
seems like a
wow.
perfect. They're 10 years apart, but to the day they're both born on March 25th. So it seems like
Well,
a good day to shoot for.
that's a great day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great day
Um,
to honor your parents on that day with by dropping an album. Yeah, that's awesome.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Uh, so I've been cutting a lot of the tracks. I have a studio. I'm in my studio right now. Right behind me is the ISO booth. You might be able to see that from here.
Hmm.
In the area where I am now, this is where this reel to reel is kind of in between, and this is where all the mixing takes place. I move all the gear over to this area here for recording purposes. I got the most lovely view in the world outside of my window if I ever choose to look at it. Um, Hibiscus have just started to bloom down here in
Mm.
Florida, and skies are blue, and
And the weather's great.
weather's getting warm. So good inspiration for my wife and I to sit and work. And we
That's
spend a
right.
lot of time in the room here.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, and it's a
Wow.
good record. I'm very, very proud of this album that we're putting together. I have an Aretha song that I've cut. I've covered the song "Until You Come Back to Me," which was one
Mm.
of her early hits from the '70s. Stevie Wonder wrote it.
Oh, okay.
And then we've got Andrew Ferris material on there, and then there's a track that I wrote with Gabriel Gordon, Natalie Merchant's guitar player. There's a track that I wrote with Carlos Alomar, David Bowie's guitarist. He and I have a song on
Mm,
here also. So it's a well traveled album. It's a
I
well
see.
traveled album.
I see. So March 25th, everyone, is the date to
Yes.
check out this album.
Um,
Yeah. So make sure you support. Make sure you go listen. Make sure you buy the album and support
yes.
Teddy and his endeavors and his career as well. So Teddy, there is one more question that I have for you,
Okay.
and that question is all around Think Radio. And
Hmm.
so, what prompted you to start Think Radio?
Well, Think Radio, I had an idea many, many years ago. I had an idea to put together a radio station. It was probably 5 or 6, maybe 8 years ago. The original idea was to call it GTR, which is, of course, the abbreviation for guitar,
Guitar,
but
right?
it was also Globe Trek Radio. And the
Mm,
idea, because again, I was traveling so much in my RV and doing the Borders Books thing, and it seemed to me at its original incarnation to bring about the radio station then, which I never got to it, but I wanted to be able to travel, meet someone from that particular town, wherever you were working at. Maybe go talk to the mayor or go and talk to somebody who's the head groundskeeper at the golf course, or but just find interesting people in every stop that I was going to and interview them and learn more about that particular city that I happened to be working in. That was the idea initially. It never came to fruition at that time, but I didn't lose the idea. Um, and over time, I just decided to rename the concept Think Radio, which is named after my mother's song Think, which my father wrote.
mm,
And of course, some of your listeners, I'm sure that song has resonated, through the generation. But I wanted to launch Think Radio, and by the time that I did decide to launch Think Radio, the concept became a bit different. I still have a ton of interviews, like what you and I are doing right now. I do it with a lot of the folks that I've had a chance to share the stage with,
ah,
and
okay.
also I've had an opportunity to interview the members of the Aretha Franklin group and some of the people that I've been writing and recording with. I've had a chance to interview them. Um, and also, most importantly, I said, here's what I'd like to do at this station because I've loved music all my life. I wanted to be able to share that music, the
Mm,
songs that made the impressions on me from the Guess Who, you know, from the time I was a little kid, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Beatles, um, the impressions, Donny
mm-hmm,
Hathaway, of course, Stevie Wonder. Um, there's Aretha tracks on there, of course, but sharing all of this in an open format. It's not a genre that's a soul station or an R&B station or an oldie
right.
station. This thing is all over, but it's all good material. It's all over the board. But if it's good material, that really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be one genre. A good song
Right.
is a good song.
Regardless of the
One,
genre. That's right.
regardless of the genre, good material is good. There's no, it's unavoidable. It's
Mm,
unavoidable. If it's good, it's good. So it's an opportunity for me to globally share some of the good music that I've had an opportunity to enjoy and tap my foot to, and that's inspired me over the years. Um, my wife will tell you different. She'll say, "Oh my God, you got a country song in there. Oh, why would you do
that's,
that?" She doesn't. I'm trying to get her to understand the songwriting aspect of it.
mm,
Um, but aside from that, she enjoys the station as much as I do, and she's learning a bit about the craft as well. Um, but yeah, that's what Think Radio. That was the idea, and that's the impetus behind Think Radio. um, and it allows me to take all this good music and not just have it in my head, but to
Mm,
be able to say, hey, go over there and listen to that. And I guarantee you, there's somebody that's going to go, wow, I never heard that, but that was a cool track there. That was good, you know.
right.
And that's what it's all about, sharing the
Wow.
good music.
Sharing the good music, right? I mean, sharing the good music from the Duke of Song.
Yeah, yes,
That's right.
indeed. And the Duke is just getting started. I'm really, I haven't even hit my stride yet. I haven't even hit
Hey,
my stride.
that's what's up. That's what's up. So Teddy, I know we've been talking for a while. I mean, we've been going an hour and 16 minutes so far, and
Wow,
so
you'd never know it. You'd never know it. That's the mark of a good conversation. It feels like it's been 10
it's the
minutes.
mark of a good conversation. Um, and I don't want to hold you up too long because I know you have other important things to do. And I know earlier we were talking about you had your guitar out and things like that. And I don't know, I didn't know if you want to leave us with something that that you were working on or you would like to share with our audience. Um, but I think it'll be a blessing to hear you play something and kind of deliver that to us.
Let's see here. Love was easy when it began. Just a prayer in the palm of our hands. Every moment, a grain of sand slips through the hands of time. Hang on, let the truth keep us free. Share the love that you found in me, now and forever after. Don't ever let it go. You're the song and the melody in my heart and on my mind. When our hearts beat in harmony, we move at the speed of light. The speed of life. Take your dreams, you wish into prayer. Where they lead, you'll find me there. Yeah. Take your dreams, you wish into prayer. Where they lead, you'll find the speed of life.
Hey, that was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Bevon. It was my pleasure, Brian,
Yes,
man.
sir.
It's one of the best conversations I've had all day, man.
Well, good. I'm glad. And that's like I said in the beginning when we was off camera. I like it to be a
Yeah,
conversation versus just a regular interview, right? And
I
so
think
I
we
think
got
you just
that
give.
done. We
I think
did
we
that.
accomplished it. I think we
All
accomplished it.
right.
So if you
Thank you.
wouldn't mind holding on for one moment while I close this out.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, man, right? What did you think about the speed of light? The tune he played at the end. That was amazing. So wow, Teddy, I greatly appreciate him being on the show today, talking about his experience, talking about his just his knowledge of the music industry. And it was great to just hear his heart about and his heart and love for music. But for those who are watching, I greatly appreciate you tuning in. You can always catch us every Monday night and every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on We Create Music TV, where we do our weekly interviews with amazing artists and producers and songwriters, etc. Right here on We Create Music TV. And you can catch us throughout the entire week, of course, of all of our things like our master classes, our tutorials, our music industry panels that we do. I mean, we offer so much to the community. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on the notification bell to be notified of this great content. And make sure you give us a thumbs up as well if you like what we're doing here on We Create Music TV. But as always, thank you very much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a great evening. Peace.